Okay, I wanted to pull up this article because I haven't done a video called News We Can't Use for a little while. So normally I'm looking at articles that really give, incorrect, not just biased information, but occasional weigh in stuff that maybe has some things I agree with and some other things. So this is an article we're seeing percolate a few times. This is one actually from middle of August, but we've seen some in recent weeks. And, I think this article comes a few times. So this is denoting a report by Desjardins Banks, which is a bank on the East Coast. Steep price drops will bring sanity back to the housing market in 2023. And so it gives a number of predictions. So nearly 25% house decline from the end of from right now to the end of next year. And so a few interesting things to be aware of here. Now, whether or not someone thinks the house price is going to drop, I think the real thing to zero in on that make some of these stats misleading is what I call real estate musical chairs. And so you see someone lists their home for 1.1 and then it sells, 1.2 and then it sells, 1.3 and then it sells, but then 1.4, it doesn't sell. And so in my mind, they've hit the high of the market. 1.4 is not supporting the market. And so when we use this data, what happens is people go, hey, houses have dropped off that 1.4 because that's what they've listed for. But the truth is, houses had never sold for 1.4. They only ever sold for 1.3. And so is there really a housing pricing drop, or was the house prices that you see listed not really what they were selling for? And we see that in every single market. Doesn't mean that that's wrong or right, but that's something to really be aware of in this data. Here's another really interesting thing that we talk about. Certainly, Bank of Canada pushing rates up and inflation will give some worse outlook on things. The A few other things saying that the price corrections they're anticipating are most likely going to hit rural provinces, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island. So this is interesting that there is a prediction, and I don't know if I have a really good opinion on this, because I think that this is an interesting thing that they think. We hear people talk about all the time. Hey, I was able to get a cheaper place in these places, but they're predicting the Maritimes will have the biggest price drops during the next year. Who knows? I don't know where that data is to support it. The reason people move to places is cheaper real estate opposed to other spots, and more property. I can get somewhere where I might get a bigger property, which is more appealing than what I can get in BC. So I don't know where that is. Where that's coming from, or if that's likely, but this does go with a statistic that I don't think is proven, but this is a belief they have, is that people will, as things return to normal, they will give up the idea of living more rurally and in those areas and abandon those properties and move back towards urban centers and cities. I don't know what data supports that. I don't know if that's true, but this article is based on that belief. And so for that to happen, that would have to be the case. Here's the last piece to kind of note. Authors also note the upcoming economic slowdown will ease inflation pressures enough for the Bank of Canada reversing interest rates. So basically, they're saying a recession is inevitable, agreed, and that recession being inevitable mean interest rate hikes will mean that rates will come back down. Now, whether or not rates come back down and we still have a supply problem, and then that creates a frenzy in the market, that's yet to be known. But that's a really important part as well. Now, the last thing I think I just skipped by it, but I think this is important to realize, is that we hear a lot of people talk about house sales dropping. So the article here is 35% less house sales. This is an interesting thing, because when we think about huge drops in the market, you actually would have to have more house sales to have huge price drops. So, for example, heavy price drops happen when people need to sell homes. So I have a home, but I'm trying to sell for $1 million, but I need to sell. I'm moving. Life has happened. And so that means that when so I'm trying to sell for $1 million, but my neighbor and everybody else is trying to sell 10 houses for $1 million, and I'm not selling my home. So my best way to do it is I say, well, look, I'll take 900 because I need the money. That creates price pressure, moving things down, and that creates the frenzy where you say where actually there's more house sales. Now, that doesn't, despite contrary beliefs, more house sales does not mean upward price pressure. That just means there's more people selling their home. So as a result, you're going to see more people being creative on the price point. There's not a lot of data that supports that, but that's something to be really aware of as well. These are just things that jury's still out on. A reminder, and this is an important thing to look at. If you think about March and April 2020, we have price increases and significant drop in sales activity. So remember, that's the beginning of the COVID pandemic. You have virtually no sales happening, but you still have prices going up. So these two things are not correlated. Anyway, take these things for what it will. These are just my thoughts in this article. I think there's some things that I agree with, some things that we just don't know. Hopefully it's helpful for you.